It seems a university-accredited neuroscientist has confirmed what I've been saying in videos for years now, even going back to, let's see here, March 3rd, 2014 in my video titled The ADHD Scam, Turning Boredom into a Disorder, in which I describe essentially what this neuroscientist in a new article says. Neuroscientist, U.S. high schools are too boring for students. December 29, 2015. Temple University neuroscientist Lauren Steinberg's research has shown him that adolescent brains are primed for learning. The problem is, he claims, that most U.S. high schools are not challenging students enough during their adolescent years. As WQED in Pittsburgh reports, Steinberg has spent his career studying the adolescent's brain development and has discovered that it has an incredible plasticity and is as exquisitely sensitive to experience. We tend to think of small children's brains as sponges for information, but Steinberg basically says the same thing is true for adolescents. Yes, I've been saying this for a long time, and of course I'm not the first person to say it, but I'm definitely one person who stood out and said that, something that was pretty unpopular. Because the ADHD machine wants to tell you that the problem isn't schools. The schools aren't the problem. It's not that school is boring and redundant and irrelevant. The problem is that the child, the student, has a problem in his brain. Teachers, when they have their little parent-teacher conference because one of the students isn't performing well, what teacher is going to actually be honest and tell the parent, listen, the reason your kid can't focus in class is because I don't really care about my job. I'm just teaching him a bunch of old, outdated information that somebody from some anonymous board of educators from the Board of Education hand down to me, and then I just kind of spew it out in front of their faces and force them to take tests on it. What parent is going to say the school system is boring as fuck and the problem isn't your student? Of course, it's a lot easier to say the child is fucked up. Because first of all, they're children. So, if you're in middle school and you can't pay attention because the fucking school is so boring and irrelevant to you, you don't have, it's so easy to just blame the kid. The kid doesn't know what's happening. The kid thinks he's stupid. You can't do well in school, you must be dumb, right? Well, tell that to Michael Faraday, who, Michael Faraday dropped out of school, pioneered electromagnetism, and is now being studied in school. Well, that's irony, isn't it? Of course, Michael Faraday was a real genius in the field of electromagnetism, and he went on to pioneer it, even though his teachers told him that he would amount to nothing because he had a speech impediment and was a poor student. Well, he dropped out at about the age of 9, 10, or 11 or so, and now he's being taught in the schools that rejected him. Real irony. Of course, the point is, and this is something I talk about in my upcoming new book, Success Without School, Think Outside of the Classroom, is that intelligence does not originate in textbooks. Okay, intelligence originates in the mind and then is written down in textbooks for later generations of students to memorize and regurgitate for a grade. And, one of the key things in this article is that we tend to think of small children's brains as sponges for information. But the truth is, when you actually think about it, it's not necessarily that as we get older, our brains become less sponge-like. I would say that it's more that as we get older, we spend more time in the school system, and that rots our brains. The longer you spend in school, in fact, there's one interesting study that says the average person's level of creativity drops the longer they spend time in school. Now, it's hard to tell the correlation, the causation on that, but the one interpretation of the study is that schools kill creativity, which shouldn't be a surprise, really. But it it's not surprising that on average the older a person gets, the less capable they are of retaining information if that person grew older while they were in the school system, because the school system trains you to associate learning with boredom. Okay? When you go to school and you hate what you're doing because it's irrelevant and boring, you are going to associate the process of learning with boredom, repetition, with being mundane, with being soul-suckingly boring. So that's what's really sinister and fucked up about the mainstream school system, is that when you force yourself to learn shit you have no interest in and will probably never use, you're going to over time associate the very process of learning and retaining information with just a chore, a process that you hate doing. And of course, that can lend, maybe that's why there's a stigma associated with being smart, or that if you're smart, you're nerdy, or that being dumb is kind of cool. Performing bad in school means you're cool. Well, maybe it's not that when people say, oh, you got F's in class, you're the cool kid because you didn't focus on what you're learning. Maybe it's not that what we think is cool about that is that the guy is dumb. Maybe what we think is cool about that is that he's not a slave to learning a bunch of shit he has no interest in and will probably never use. So, it's just telling. And, I can go on and on about this. This is this fundamental problem, which, by the way, if you want to see my video, you can definitely check it out. You can watch it on my channel. I'll put the link below to this video. It's an awesome video. It's from 2 years ago, and it just obliterates this idea that the problem with ADHD is, now I'm not saying ADHD doesn't exist in the mind of kids, but we have to be careful. Are kids incapable of paying attention, or are schools too fucking boring? If you go and you watch a movie, and the movie is fucking boring as shit, you're not going to say to yourself, damn, I just got that ADHD. I can't pay attention to things. I suck. I better go medicate myself in order to pay attention during the movie. You don't say that. You say, this movie sucks shit. You don't blame yourself. You blame the fucking movie. And you walk out of the theater and you get your fucking money back. But when we're dealing with kids who have no idea what's really going on, and parents are basically forcing them to go to these school prison factories, the kids don't really know what's happening, so because they're basically victims, and they're just going to accept the fact that they're going to be given pills by their parents through the psychiatrist because the teacher said the kid can't pay attention. And of course the result is, well, the kid pops the pill, which by the way, yes, dopamine is directly associated with the Ritalin pills that are prescribed. And of course the end result is that the kid is now drugged up. So don't blame the school system. We blame the fucking helpless children. That is an evil, knowing or unknowing, conspiring between the schools, the psychiatrists, and the parents. Whether or not they know what they're doing, whether or not they have good intentions or not, all I know is that the average teacher is not going to admit that the problem is a fucking classroom. The problem is what the teacher is teaching. The problem is the fucking system as a whole. They're never going to say that. They're going to say the kid is the problem, because isn't that fucking easier? So, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible what's happening. Again, I talk about all this in my upcoming new book, Success Without School, Think Outside the Classroom. If you guys want to listen to a free preview, a free 22-minute preview, because I do have it in audiobook version as well, and you can listen to the preview, just check out the link below. You get to listen to a preview of the upcoming new book. It's going to be an amazing book. It's going to be a book that blows your mind. I am literally deciphering the fucking school matrix. And I'm shattering all the fucking delusions. I'm defining what intelligence truly means at a most fundamental level. This is one of my proudest works. And I think you guys would love it, honestly. So again, guys, free preview, over 20 minutes long, of my upcoming new book. Just click the link below. You'll be able to see it. And that's the essence. That's the essence of it, man. there's an awakening happening. People are finally slowly starting to realize what I and many others have been saying for many, many years. When you sat in class and you were bored out of your fucking mind, it wasn't your fault. It's shameful that we make kids feel guilty for having a higher standard of what they want to do with their time in life. And the ADHD epidemic in the school system is a perfect example of that. We blame children who have no autonomy over what happens in their lives. We blame them for a boring system that we as parents force them to go into. And when the kid can't pay attention and the teacher's angry because the kid doesn't focus, the teacher holds a parent-teacher conference and tells the parents, your kid sucks, but I know a psychiatrist who might be able to help him. The psychiatrist has just as little interest in the well-being of your child as your fucking teacher does. So the psychiatrist, instead of addressing the root problem of the issue, just says, here's a fucking pill, take it. This pill, by the way, is closely associated with the chemical properties in cocaine as a stimulant. Put him on a fucking stimulant because his brain is not being stimulated enough as it is by the school environment. School is so boring. School is so unstimulating that you have to put a fucking stimulant in the form of a pill into the child's brain in order to get them to focus. I break all this down and much more in my upcoming book. It's available for pre-order now. Check out the free preview. Click the link below. Thanks for watching, guys.
Success Without School. Think outside the classroom. My new book shatters the matrix of the school system, exposing the brainwashing done to you and illuminating the path to success. From the truth about intelligence to surviving in a fast-paced, unprecedented economic era.